Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. Master ways to communicate with your students. We have a good group today that that they've been academic advisors. Some of them work with the Trellis team, but they've been involved in Trellis and they've got some pointers for all of you so that maybe you find something that is easier, gets, helps throughout your day or so forth. So without further ado, we have Ali Jeffords, Reina Neelan, Ladi Salvo, J. Cristina Garcia, and Laura Novotny. Reina, did I get that right? I saw your
That's
email
okay.
and it said Neelan, and I wanted to.
Oh,
Oh,
it should be O'Brien, but that's okay.
okay,
It's Reina, regardless.
Reina. Okay, all right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. And without further ado, who's gonna? I don't know who's gonna start. You all have. Let me see.
I got
Laura, you're
I'm getting the
muted.
screen up
Okay.
right now. Yep, sorry. I can never remember if I flipped just for my microphone or from that. But okay, awesome. So, hi everyone. Welcome to our advising and trellis communication presentation. I'm really excited to have you here. Myself, Daria, and Christina were approached by the Trellis team to kind of put our take on how we use Trellis to communicate with our students. It's one thing to kind of see a how-to type of deal, but to actually see how advisors are using it really is how we wanted to kick off this presentation. So, whoever wants to go next, go for it. I will obediently click the presentation.
I can take it off for us. So my name is Ali Jeffords. I'm the Communications Implementation Analyst on the Trellis team. Sarah is not able to join us today, but she is our product owner. And then I'll let Reina introduce herself.
Hi, excuse me. I am Raina O'Brien, and I am one of the implementation analysts on the Trellis team. I primarily assist with scheduling and service cases.
And then on the advising side, hi, Laura Novotny here, Assistant Director here in the A Center.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dara Salvo, and I'm a senior academic advisor within CALES within the School of Animal and Comparative Biomedical Sciences.
Hey everyone, my name is Cristina Garcia, and I'm in the same area of the mouthful that Dari just said. So ACBS, I'm the assistant director, and then for ACBS as well as the animal science academic advisor.
All right, so like I kind of mentioned, we are going to really focus on kind of two and a half, depending on how you want to look at it, pieces of Trellis and how we use it to communicate with our students. As you all probably know, as you're at various stages of onboarding with Trellis and have been on it for a while, or maybe you're just getting started, or maybe you're in there, but you don't know how much you can do in there. Again, we really just wanted to kind of put a spin on it from the advising perspective of how our offices and units are using it to better connect with students as opposed to just going through Outlook or Mail Merge or, and I'll let, I think Allie's talking about this one, the beast that is Marketing Cloud, right? So, how kind of advisors can do it on a day to day as opposed to having, some big to do about it to be able to use Trellis effectively. Oh, I'm still talking. Sorry. So again, like I said, two and a half, depending on how you want to look at it. ACBS is going to talk about the group communications tools. So group communications is a really good way to reach out to specific population or cohorts or whatever kind of lists of students that you all are working with in one fell swoop. I like to think of it a lot like Mail Merge, very similar to Mail Merge, but all within Trellis, which is really nice. And they'll talk about this a little bit, but it's similar to Marketing Cloud in that it can have the same reach and go to as many students, but it doesn't feel quite as newsletter-ish, right? It can very much just look like a traditional email, which I think they'll talk about. Students tend to interact with a little bit more, right? If it feels more personal, it's more likely that they're going to click into it. And then I'm going to talk about quick texts and templates. This is more so individual outreach, but when you're sending like consistent or similar messages to them, instead of having to copy and paste or copy or type the same thing over and over. It's just a really nice way to be one click away from whatever messaging you are trying to send, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of each of them. Okay, now I can stop talking.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, so kicking off with group communications. I describe it as Marketing Cloud Lite, where it is a tool for you to mass email within the CRM. So the same place that you're managing your appointments, your case queues, whatever you're doing, it is same login, same interface. Within it, we offer branded and unbranded email templates. So when we initially launched it, feedback we got included, hey, we want it to kind of look like Marketing Cloud emails, have the Blockade logo at the top, but also still have the ability to send an email that looks like you created it in Outlook. So those are the two email templates that we offer. You can create emails and schedule them for a point in the future or send them immediately as soon as you're done building them. They offer you the ability to create customizable sender profiles. So just the from field, it defaults to you as an individual, but there are plenty of teams that use it where they've customized it to be the overall advising team. That you're able to tailor who it appears to come from to your recipients. And then, as Laura said, it's got some very light mail merge capabilities. So if you still want it to look personalized, you can set up an email to include dear first name, and it will pull in students' preferred first name. You organize your audiences and actually build the email within a feature in Trellis called campaigns. If you aren't a Marketing Cloud or events user, that might be kind of a new space for you. But it is all in one place where you build your audience, build your email, preview it, and send it out. With the benefit, the reason most people were interested in using group comms when we launched is to track engagement. So you send out a mass email to all of the students in your caseload. You can see who is opening and who is clicking. And that might even be the trigger for a follow-up communication that you send out. One important note on group communications, this gets a little bit into the marketing weeds, but it is transactional sends only, meaning everyone you send it to will receive it. It is mission critical required information. Marketing Cloud, the bigger digital comms tool, is really where any non-essential communications continue to be sent from, so your audience can unsubscribe. So your run-of-the-mill newsletters, campus events that folks can unsubscribe from, all of that non-essential still takes place in Marketing Cloud. And Laura, if you could move to the next slide. Now, if you aren't, there are some folks that use group communications and Marketing Cloud. So the slide is not for you, you know it already. But if you hear me talk and you're like, I don't know what Marketing Cloud is, it is the GTO on the right. Manual transmission, you need both hands, both feet to drive, very advanced digital marketing functionality, automation. We've got certain employee and student attributes merging in, so you can segment audiences in very complex ways. Lots of customizing your email content. That is where digital marketers spend a lot of their time because it is a complex tool. Group communications was our solution to folks that need to send mass communications, but not do all of that work. So I liken it to a golf cart. Much easier to drive, already in a space you're familiar with, but still you have the benefit of capturing your audience engagement with your emails. All right. I'll kick it over to Kairos.
Great. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we've used this in ACBS for our students, and then I'll screen share and take you kind of through just a quick test version so you all can kind of see. One thing I'd like to note
Sorry,
is
that is a cat on the keyboard.
Oh, you're fine.
There you
go. One thing I would just like to note is you can't at this point, we haven't broken it. We've been using it for about 6 months. And so I wouldn't be afraid of it. I know at first, like we were real hesitant and Dari spearheaded it for our department. So I'll walk you through it here in a second. But right now, what we're using these group communications for in our department is reminders for students to schedule with us if priority registration has come and they haven't met with us. We can do this in a span of 5 minutes versus, you know, a mail merge is pretty quick too. But for us, we were trying to make it much more personalized. And so this allowed us the opportunity to do that and also track it as they talked about. And Dari will get into that a little bit more. We use this for some very specific mandatory events that we have in the department. So for example, we have a first year meeting. So we've been using that as an invite, as well as like for degree audits. We do drop-ins for those. And so making sure students know when they can come in for those, checking in on students, whether that be for academic eligibility or other type check-ins, but we've been using it a lot for that, and it's made it much more feasible. As many of you probably have large caseloads, so do we, and so this has made this just a world of difference in terms of being able to track and see what students are engaging with. Some key items to have when using group comms to make this easier on yourself is going to be a CSV formatted list, which I'll show an example of. A descriptive subject line kind of already ready to go because you will have to put that in. So having that, and also in addition to the descriptive subject line, something that will remind you under your campaigns what that email was for. And I'll go through that. And then attachments converted to links. So you can't attach anything to a group comm. So you have to have some place that you store them, and can put that link, that hyperlink into that email, and then potentially an email template if there's something very specific that you're trying to reach your audience with. So I'm going to screen share, and I'm going to first just go to the formatted list. So this was an invite for our degree audit drop-ins, and so per how Trellis and Group Comms has you format this list. It should always have your net ID, your first name, last name, and then the email address, and then you would save that as a CSV. We usually get our list from analytics. I mean, that's pretty much how most of us do. Some of this will be self-tracking, and you can actually do a manual upload of contacts, and I'll go through that. So sometimes you won't always have a list, but if it's going to be, you know, more than probably 10 students, having a list is going to be much more effective and efficient. Okay. And then I'm going to move over to group comms. All right. So you can find group comms in your list. This happens to be at the top for me just because I've set it up that way so I can get to it quickly. These are various campaigns that I have already worked on, but starting a new group comm is fairly simple. As they said before, you can start with either branded or no branded. We go with the no branding just to give it just a more individual feel and less commercial. So we go with the no branding. It'll come from my email, and we would put a subject line. I'm just going to put test 2, and then you hit next. And then this talks about the transactional email that they mentioned and making sure that it meets those guidelines. So we check the box. And then you can either hit finish and it'll put it in your list here, or you can just go to prepare your campaign. So it's really simple in terms of the setup of it. We would then, and you can do this in various different ways. You can go ahead and click here and start getting your email template set up, okay, that you would be using. And so you just click to edit. It'll allow you to put your information there. If you use this, it'll put automatically the preferred name. So I'm gonna just jump over really quickly to one that I've done so you can see what that would look like. But it would just have just some really basic information, and it would say from me, pretty simple. And then once you're ready to send, there's a couple ways. So the first way would be to get out of here. Import your contacts. Okay, so you could click import contacts. It would be a self-service. And then it's going to ask for that format that I went through. So has that there, and it'll show you how to do it as a CSV. You would go ahead, upload your files, and then you would just follow the on-screen prompts. I've noticed with mine that once I go through all the process and do the upload, that I have to go to make sure that my contacts are there, that I have to go ahead and do a refresh just so that they show up, and then you can follow through with the sending. Additional way that you could add manually is you can just add contacts here. You want to make sure that you do have the correct names. Recent contacts will come up right away for you, but if you're trying to pick a different student, you'll just search them. You just want to make sure that you have their full name and you're getting the correct contact. So you can add either way. And Trellis team, feel free to interrupt if there's additional things that I am missing. So those are the big things that I think I really wanted to cover on the process of it and the simplicity of it, that can make your life a lot easier. And Dari's going to go through just really some of the advantages that we've seen, but some considerations also.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to know, while like when you're putting your information or the email content in there, there's only a certain there's a character limit. So sometimes you might run out of space essentially. So that's where that second email content, you can go ahead and put information in there if it runs over. The other thing regarding the uploading of the CSV files and stuff like that. So once it's uploaded, Trellis will then actually send you an email confirming that that those contacts have been updated. And then if there's anything that's a duplicate or anything like that, it will actually delete them from there. So I'm in charge of our tutoring program within our department. So I realized when I pulled eCall 182 R&L class lists and I uploaded them into my campaign or group com, it actually deleted the ones that were also enrolled in eCall 182 R&L, so that way it only sent them one email instead of two. So I actually thought that was a pretty good fail safe, just in case, like you don't want them to get two emails from you. So I thought that was pretty cool. But in that upload email that you get, it tells them like if they skipped a contact or if it was removed or something like that. So I think that's a really good thing to just like highlight as well. So as far as the benefits and considerations, like all of y'all have mentioned beforehand, it definitely, we've seen an increase in student engagement. One of the main reasons why I think that's happening is because the email looks like it's sent from an actual human being. So it's like actually sent from me or sent from Christina or Jasmine or Mike or anybody else like in our department. So I think we have a lot more buy-in, especially because we know our students and we interact with our students on a daily basis or weekly basis or so forth. So I think that buy-in that's showing like, oh, my advisor's emailing me X, Y, and Z, I should probably pay attention to this. And so it's not branded. It doesn't have the U of A branding or anything on that looks like super, super official. So I think that's one of the main reasons why we've seen an increase in student engagement. And when I send out emails and stuff, I get actual emails back from students saying, thank you so much for this. I'll make sure to attend this, or I'll make sure to schedule a meeting with you or anything like that. One of the other things that Christina was mentioning before and Laura and Allie were you're able to track if a student opened or even clicked the links within the email. So that's just kind of good thing for us advisors to say, I sent you an email about your degree audits, and they're like, no, you've never sent me that. Not at all. So you can actually go and look on their profile on Trellis under the related tab. You can actually scroll down and look at their campaign history, and you can see what emails have been sent through Trellis, and you can actually find the email that you sent, and you can actually see if they opened it or clicked it or not. So I think that's just a good thing for us advisors to know. And then it's also good to grab that data and see 70% of these students opened this email versus this email. What was kind of the turning point as far as like the email content? Were there more links in there? Were there not? So that's just kind of a good thing to kind of grab that data and kind of figure out and fine tune what would work best for you or your department. So some considerations are we're trying to figure out the pictures and stuff, right? But you can add pictures in there, but it does count towards the character limit. So if you wanted to put a flyer in there, you may not be able to put as much content. Now, this is what we found, so we're still trying to fine tune it. But one of the workarounds that we've figured out that you could do is creating like a link to a box or something like that, that if they wanted to go and look at the flyer or go look at those documents and links, because we can't put attachments either, that they could click on that box folder and it would open up and they'd be able to see that information in there. And then what we were saying is the email comes from your personal Trellis email versus our shared advising email. And so I know, I think Allie was talking a little bit about that. Sometimes we might want some of our stuff to come from our advising email versus our personal Trellis email. So we just have to kind of figure out the workaround for that as well. But does anybody have any questions on group comms for Christina, me, Allie, or Raina? More than happy. Like I said, it's funny because they were saying that we're like kind of like gurus of it. And I feel like Christina and I are still trying to fine tune everything. But we always find a new way that we can use group comms in our department. So I've been truly an advocate for it just because I feel like it's increased our student engagement, which is what we really, really want as advisors.
And finding that like the solutions that work for you only come with playing around with it and sending from it.
Yeah.
The one thing I will note is it's not by default a feature that you're provisioned to access. Group comms actually has its own independent like license that we have to assign to you. So if there is anyone that is interested in it and you know for a fact that you don't have it today, I'm always happy to work with you and get that access set up.
Cool. Yay. I'll pass it over to Laura.
Raina
Or whoever's
is up,
next.
actually. Yeah, Raina will go.
All right. Thank you both for showing us group comms. Next, we're going to talk about quick text and email templates, which are two great features that you do have access to already. The quick text, it will save you time and it helps sort of standardize your messages. You can easily just insert those predefined messages that you create, like a greeting or a common question or a short note. Whereas email templates, those are the longer messages, but again, helping with consistent messaging and increasing your productivity. They are automatically private, but you can make them available to other users in your department within the folder. And I believe that is one of the things that Laura is going to show us next. I will let you.
Absolutely. Okay, so quick text and templates, they serve very similar purposes, which is why I'm calling it like 1.5 tools. But ultimately, as we've talked about, it's ways for you to, in 2 clicks, get an entire body of text on the page, something that you send really frequently. So for example, every time that I meet with the student, I send a follow-up email to the student. Now, obviously, the template is not going to contain everything that I talked about in the meeting with the student about, but saving the headache of having to go into Outlook and then send it and then relink it back to the case and all of that fun stuff. It's really nice to just be able to have that template, put it in there, and then all I need to do is fill in that gap of information. We use this pretty extensively also with new student orientation. So we send emails to orientation students in a couple different ways. So the big one, which is where we'll all do a demonstration of the template for new student orientation specifically. We send one to each of the students that we are meeting with that day as individuals and saying, hey, reminder, this is when you're meeting with us. Here's actually the schedule that you've been provided. Here's my Zoom link. We'll see you then. something to that effect. We also use journeys, and I'm not going to butcher journeys, and this is something that talk to Trellis if you want journeys, but basically we have emails go out to students as they are signing up for orientation from Trellis about their, what is it called now? Academic connection session is what it's called now. So that goes through, which is really nice. And then we also send a post-event email to all of our students with some various links and things like that. We also do summer schedule review. So where advisors look through every single, well, if we have time, in an ideal world, right? We look through all of the specifically post-orientation students, and then again, if we have time, continuing students, and send a template of, hey, here's what you do, or here's what we recommend that you do. Please make an appointment with us. So it's really nice to be able to have that. And then again, just some common concerns, how to schedule an appointment. Not having to type up 50 times how to file a general petition is really handy, right? So having a template like that is really important. So again, I'll show you some of those use cases. Laura, I just saw your message. No, we do not send any other than the 24 default one. We also see very high no-show rates. So I do think that's something that we've talked about, but we've never explored. But I will show you what it would look like, specifically if you have an admin, what it would be like to create one, and then like have your admin be in charge of sending that. That's something that can be done. And I know they're working on a I don't know if it's a journey or what, but kind of a pre-first appointment email that we can send specifically like to our pre-health students if we want them to watch a video before the meeting. So I think there's ways to do it. I'm just not covering it necessarily in here exactly. So some things to note, I know we've mentioned this. It's not quite as mail mergey, but I usually do put a first name in all of the email contacts that I send. It used to be this really long thing that you had to remember, but since they have now linked preferred name and first name together, it's just one little code that you have to put in there. I'll show you what it looks like. The workload on this comes with the initial setup. So using them and finding them and clicking them are really easy, but setting it up in that first place can be a little bit tricky. So I'll do a kind of overview of that. Something to note, and I'll hit on this a couple more times, quick text is only plain text. So you can't hyperlink or anything like that from the get-go. Once you insert your quick text into an email, you can hyperlink it after that, but you can't do it beforehand. It will just be the words only. But templates, you can do basically whatever you want to them. We hyperlink almost everything. And then with the template specifically, when you set it up, you can have a subject line carry over automatically. So mine, when I go to send my after appointment email, it always just says advising follow-up automatically when I apply the template, which is really nice. So let me give you a let's see, let me reshare my screen in a different way really briefly. I went screen one. I'm on my home computer, so please don't mind the Steam and the Discord open on my PC right now. So I will say normally I do this in Chrome, but I don't have Chrome on this computer. It is a RAM eater. Okay, so both quick text and email templates can be found in your app launcher. I don't think either of them are pinnable in the list, but it really takes 2 seconds to find it. So quick text. You have your own folder, you have a private folder, you have a shared with me, you have lots of different things that you can do. But ultimately, when you are making yours, you will do a new quick text. Name it whatever you want. I probably have 50 in here called testing. Folder, again, you can put this wherever you want. I have one called Laura's Signatures. I also have one called the A Center. If I recall, the way it's set up is that Laura's signature is private to only me, and then the A Center is shared. So again, this is really nice because if I make this, which I do a lot, I can share it with all of our other advisors and also our admin staff because they're actually doing a lot of our emailing from our general queue, which is nice. I would select my folder. Again, if you wanted to do a merge field, if we wanted it to be the first name, it's under, I think, contact name, maybe just first name. First name, there we go. You would insert that. So that would include their first name, and then you could type whatever you want. Hello, I am typing. Beautiful. I save it. And there it is. So now if I am going to email a student, Jackie Rendoni is always my go-to person. If you ever go look at her case details, like 99% of them are from me because I do a lot of poking and prodding in here. So let's say I just met with her. This is the note that I left her. Actually, this is a case. Let's say I just met with her and I want to email her. I would just click on email. And then quick text is this little call out guy right here. If you hover it, it says quick text. It brings up your most recent ones. Cool. I would click testing because that's the one that I just did. Hello, I am typing. I think I did the mail merge field wrong, so don't look at that. Ignore that part. I do have another one where it actually works because I was just testing it. So it is recipient.firstname. If you want to make sure that that field is correct, you can always click the little preview. And there it goes. It shows that Jackie is right there. So again, that is the quick text that we have in there for students that have completed our form to change to no major selected. I set this up, and then our admin staff replies to the email with that quick text. Like I mentioned, there's no hyperlinks within there, but again, once you're in the editor, you can hyperlink anything that you want. Like if I wanted to link an advisor page, I would just do the hyper HTML link and link it that way. So that's what that looks like. Same thing, you can do it within cases too. So again, if you are an email to case office and you are sending emails from cases, you can do that. I would say a majority of our work, at least on the advising side, is done from the case detail. And then templates is really similar. So again, email templates. My advice is set up a base one. So this one is called Update S24 because this is the most recent iteration of what it looks like. Like I had mentioned, you can do the subject. So I know I said I always have advising follow-up in there. Again, you are welcome to put it whatever you want to be. If you ever want to duplicate this and put more information in there, the clone button is your best friend. I would highly recommend the clone button for everything. We'll just pretend I'm making changes to it and call it Spring 25. Like I said, this is just, again, saves a headache of me having to go in and type this every time because that's how I start all of my emails if I were to be emailing from Outlook. I would save it. Again, if I wanted it in a shareable folder, I would move it to another folder. We'll use this same email from Jackie as an example, and I like using this because the thing about templates is that they will overwrite anything that you've had in there already, which is no big deal if you're going from case detail because it's likely the first email in the thread. But if you're going from cases, I would not recommend using templates because it will erase any prior information on there, especially if you're replying to something. So whereas the quick text was the little call out bubble up here, oops, go away, I don't want you anymore. This is going to be this little, I think it's a post-it note with a plus on it. Same thing, again, your recent templates are going to be there. You can always go into insert a template and find the other folders, but I'm going to do, let's do this orientation one, right? Why not? Again, here's that warning that if I wanted to keep the information in there, I wouldn't click insert, right? I would use a quick text instead, but I'm going to put that in there. And there is the information, just like I had set up in the template. I know I used a different template, I apologize, but this is the one that we sent for orientation. All of the links transfer over. In this iteration, we linked a Google Sheet here. You can also upload an attachment instead if you don't want to go through that linking process and do attach to file, and then it will go through, right, your general file information. Again, if you're worried about it, which I almost always click, you can do preview. Clearly, I messed something up in this one when I was testing around, but oh, I know what it is. It's not an underscore. And there's Jackie's preferred name. So I think she's technically Jacqueline, but Jackie in here. And then I just hit send and it goes on its merry little way. It does put your own email in there by default. I get rid of that. I get enough emails that I don't need that, but I'm going to send it. And then Jackie would have that information. Again, once you're in the template, as long as you have that set up, you are welcome to type it, edit it, whatever within the email. And then again, if you have a bunch of quick text save, you can place those into the template. So quick text can go into the template. Template will override quick texts, if that makes sense. Okay, let me me go back to our presentation, and I'm sorry, I have the chat open on the side. Okay, perfect. So some things to consider. I know I did that very briefly, and I'm always happy to chat about how I get those set up or just straight up share my templates. That's fine. I have no issues with that. It does save a lot of time. Again, as you all know, and Trellis knows this, there's a lot of clicks in Trellis. So, even saving 10 seconds of copying pasting from a document can be really helpful if you are sending the same message on repeat, but you want it to be customizable, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to do it through group comms. Like I said, you can set up the email template and then plug and play with quick texts, and then you can use it from cases or case details, again depending on how your work works with the students. Again, some things to consider. There is a little bit of a learning curve with the HTML editor for the template specifically, like getting that signature that I had with my name and stuff on it to be formatted like it would have come from Outlook took a little bit. And before you could share, I actually had to download the HTML code, put it in a Word document, and then send that to everybody. And then they would do that and then switch the source code. It was a whole thing. But now being able to share is much easier. But again, if you do have like one person that can dive in and set them all up for everybody initially, super, super helpful. Quick texts are easy, right? It's literally just words. And then I've mentioned this several times, but you can't pre-hyperlink in the quick text, but you can do it afterwards. And then that template piece. Again, I know I went over this already, but just for those who don't want to go through my poking and prodding, here's just kind of an overview of what it looks like to have a quick text or a template, and then what it actually looks like when you go into the email. And then again, shows that you can't really do photos or anything within the quick text, but with the templates, you can do that. Cool. Any questions for me on templates or anything like that? Or again, like feel free to, if anything came up from the previous iteration, we are here to answer any questions. We didn't want to go too hard into demos because we know it can be boring. We mostly just wanted to show you all what it was capable of, so you all can start thinking about how to more effectively use Trellis to your advantage when you're advising.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the email templates are literally lifesavers. Because we, like Laura, we send follow-up emails after every meeting. We use them for our pre-degree audit checks. We send them for academic eligibility status. So when we want to meet with students, so we use them quite a bit as well. And even when we enroll students in courses, like as a confirmation. So I was just actually looking at my email templates, and I have probably about 30, 35 email templates, different iterations, right? Because we want to keep improving those email templates. But we use them quite a bit, and it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah. Once you get it down, like absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. Other thing I wanted to show is that the emails do show up over here. There's not necessarily a report on them, kind of like there is with the group comms, because it is individual, but you can see whether or not the student opened it here. So not quite as extensive in that regard, but it's nice to be able to see that timeline. Teresa, I have some homegrown ones that I have made that I'm happy to share with you. There's definitely some in knowledge, I think. I don't know if you all ever spend time in the knowledge part of Trellis, but there is some information in here that should cover it. I don't know if there are any for quick texts, but let's look. Quick tips, quick text, creating and using, right there. Let's see if email templates is in there. Template. Texting, reports, email templates right there. Incredible. And then what did I miss? Group. Oh God, group communication, lots of ones there's. So yes, that is a great resource. But again, if you want that advising perspective one of it, the ones that, again, we both talked about today, I'm happy to share whatever I've created. It's not anything new or different that's in there. It's just the dumbed down version. That's how I like to think about it, right? Like just the necessary 10 steps that you need to be able to send it. And you can email me if you want. Anything else from anyone? Where creating the signature was, yes, Brittany. So it's the same place. And again, if you don't want it like to match exactly what's on your Outlook, it's not that big of a deal. I was just really nitpicky when I was doing it. But if you want to start one from scratch, you can just simply do new email template. Again, call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Trellis Lunch. Oh my God, don't look at me. And then you can insert pictures. I don't know what's on my personal computer, so I'm not going to click that, but browser upload, right? You can get anything in there. It's just kind of the rearranging of it and getting it in an order that's an issue. But it's just any old whatever you want it to do. You can change font. It sends whatever the Outlook default is. Like I know it's set to whatever the font, I think that's Times New Roman, but when you send it, it sends in Calibri or whatever Outlook looks like or Outlook sends from. So I was very caught up on that. Like I had to like code it to be Calibri because Calibri is not one of the fonts that was right here. It was so much extra work for literally no payoff. But at this point, it's just like ingrained into my templates that I have it there. But yeah, font size, bold, hyperlink, all of that fun stuff. You do it all within there and then you save it. And again, once you have it set up the way you want it, if you're adding additional wording, or like I know Daria had mentioned, like if you want specific language on degree audit worksheets or whatever it may be, you can simply just clone that base one and then you don't have to recreate the wheel each time. You just change the body of the template, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one thing that I found out by trial and error was I was just able to copy and paste my email signature that has quite a bit of pictures in there, copy and paste it in there, and then I received an error message and it said that you just needed to change the source code. So I went into the HTML source code and I just deleted these last brackets that were hindering it and I was able to bypass it. I'm trying to remember where it's
I know
on
something that
there.
I had. It was like when I was doing the HTML, if you did it via box as opposed to like a Word document, even it was a Word in box, like it was something similar. It was like literally an outstanding parenthesis. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and then the other way that I got around copy and pasting the email signatures was actually just creating an email like under a student and creating the actual email template under there versus creating it this way. And I bypassed the signatures.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to go back to Brittany's, yes. So if you have your like base one that you want and I want to clone it, it will keep the one that was update S25. But if I want to call this like S25 DAW, I would insert my information about DAW here. I would save it. And then if I go back to that email template list, I'm going to refresh it. I have both that Spring 25 and the Spring 25 DAW one. So yeah, again, that initial setup is definitely the learning curve, but once you've got that down, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Any other questions for us? Any of us?
Pull up that writing email window from Case Detail. Yeah, I can do that. So if I'm on Jackie's and I go to Case Detail, I'll go into the most pretend that today is May 25th, 2024, and that's what I want to send it to. I go into the actual Case Detail, and then it's just this little email button right here. Again, the BCC pulls in, I close myself out of it all the time. And then I have access. Oh, I don't. I know when I do cases, I can also send it from the A Center one. I would never send in a follow-up email from our general one. I would always send it from our personal one. But cases, right, I would do the reverse. I would send it from our other account because it's usually like, how do I make an appointment type thing. But yeah, and then template is right there. Yeah, I like sending that way. I almost never send from Outlook anymore after an appointment, at least. But the reply does go to your Outlook. So anything else for any of us here? I will let the Trellis team answer that question in chat. Good question. No, the reply does not get copied into Trellis. That is, if you do it via cases, yes, it will if you have email to case, but if you're doing it via case detail, no, the reply only goes to your Outlook and you would need to enter it as a new case detail or however you want to handle it or add it exactly, just like Tori said.
For Randy's question in there, I guess the generic answer without getting into the weeds of what about it isn't user friendly for your team is yes and. Our development team works in 2-week sprints. So any new functionality, any bug fixes, any enhancements to existing tools you use is prioritized and worked on in those 2-week sprints. Part of that process is we are always collecting feedback. Anything that we have the control over to update, we have enhancement tickets that we can prioritize. And the more people that ask for something, the higher that kind of enhancement request is prioritized. I think exploring what about it isn't user friendly is okay. Yeah, and Raina's doing some follow up there in the chat, but like figuring out what it is that is the sticking point kind of leads us to what can we do about it? What enhancement tickets can we log? Or is it just part of Salesforce functionality, which sometimes is the answer? There are some wacky things about the platform that we can't always change, but yeah.
And sometimes there are
Raina will follow up.
workarounds that maybe people aren't aware of, which is also why I want to thank Laura, Christina, and Dari so much for helping us out with this today. We really appreciate when other people in similar roles can show you all how they're utilizing something so it can relate easier to you all who are here attending today.
I just wanted to show one more thing while I was thinking about it. I know Christina mentioned how you could see that the emails were sent to them. If you know a student received it under this is my profile because I know I was doing testing for myself with this. But it shows under individual email results. Usually anything that comes from a campaign or from a group comms is called no branding, and you can see that it's right there and that it was sent to them. Let's see if I open my own email. I did open my own email, which is exciting. Good for me. So that's nice to see, even if you're not the group comms creator or initiator, like anybody can see that. And it's the same thing. I know we're not talking in depth about Marketing Cloud, but that includes Marketing Cloud emails as well. Cool. So yeah, I will say I'm happy to talk with anyone if they want some more details or like I said, I have like a how-to guide for how to do it on my behalf. So if that is something that you're interested in, let me know.
Thank you, Ali, Reina, Dari, Christina, and Laura for your expertise today. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. I do have a evaluation form. I just sent the link. If you can take a minute just to go ahead and fill it out, let me know, let the team know how they're doing. If there's anything else that we would like updates on or want to know anything else regarding Trellis, I'll put it in the evaluation and I will share it with our colleagues over in Trellis. That said,